the standard before, so we communicate in the same way, and we know the rules, we know the contracts. So it's a few ways that we can do it anyway.
Thank you for that, Matt. As a follow-up question, what key principles or community needs guide Moodle HQ's roadmap when integrating emerging technology like generative AI?
So, and not just for this again, but for everything, first and foremost, the needs of our users and what they need. And this is actually also what part of the reason why I love coming to the Moodle MOOCs is actually just hearing people's stories and hearing their needs. I've taken a bunch of notes, my development team are taking when I get back, but it's listening to the needs of our users, absolutely. We're also very aware of things like, and I spoke to this a bit earlier today, like legislation and, things that we're seeing in various jurisdictions and things like that. We want to make sure that what we're doing is legal, but beyond that, we also want to make sure we're doing things in an ethical and open way. And again, like security, they're completely non-negotiable for us.
All right, thank you for that, Matt. So, in Moodle, security is non-negotiable, and it's really part of the Moodle security by design. Thank you for your responses. And for my next question would be for Mr. June Pataleta. June, one of the critical pillars of smart learning is inclusivity. As Moodle integrates more AI features, how do we ensure that learners with disabilities aren't left behind?
As mentioned in Moodle's AI principles, we actively support and are excited by the use of AI tools to create an inclusive and accessible environment, fostering positive learning experiences for all without discrimination. I believe that Moodle's AI features can be a great tool and lead to positive learning experiences especially for everyone, especially for individuals with disabilities. And for example, a teacher can, one of our AI features is called AI image generation. So a teacher can use that tool to create visual aids to help students with cognitive disabilities and have a more visual learning style. And I will actually be covering about that more tomorrow in my presentation. Yeah. So yes, soft talk. And in terms of accessibility of Moodle's AI features, like every other feature in Moodle, we must ensure that users with disabilities can also utilize AI features just like everyone else. Our AI features are designed to be keyboard accessible, allowing them to be used by keyboard-only users. Now, you might ask, why keyboard accessibility? Why keyboard operability? Well, the answer to that is that keyboard operability is crucial for individuals who cannot use mouse or touch and rely on physical keyboards or assistive technologies that simulate keystrokes. For example, people who are blind or have low vision rely on a keyboard to navigate and use Moodle's features. Also, suppose they are using the generate text AI feature in Moodle. If it's not keyboard accessible, so they will not be able to generate text using AI. So it's important that such AI features can be operated by everyone, especially people with disabilities.
And how is Moodle ensuring that AI-powered tools are accessible to users with visual, hearing, or cognitive challenges?
Thank you for that question. And yeah, like every other features in Moodle, we design and implement the AI features with accessibility in mind to ensure that everyone, especially people with disabilities, can utilize that effectively and in the easiest ways possible. At the same time, we continue to enhance the accessibility of various features in Moodle, including its AI capabilities. And I'd like to share that the AI features of Moodle have been included in our latest accessibility audit. And the accessibility specialists from the audit firm actually identified several issues to further enhance the accessibility of our AI features, including the need to to inform screen reader users about the progress of results of the AI processing. So, for example, they said, yeah, cool, your AI features are keyboard accessible. Like, we can operate by keyboard. However, you miss to include screen reader users, so they won't know what's happening if the AI processing is already done. So they won't know what to do. So we were like, oh yeah, we missed that. So we have to fix that as well. So in short, we have fixed and improved the accessibility of our AI features in the latest minor releases of Moodle 4.5 and 5.0. So in summary, while we strive to accessibility in mind to our design and development, we recognize that we will continually find ways to improve and create a more accessible user experience for our users.
Thank you, June. That's interesting. So let's hear more from June tomorrow as he will be speaking in inclusivity in Moodle. So, all right. Now, let me ask Mr. Max Espley, from your perspective, working with partners and educators across different countries, what do you think makes Moodle a strong choice for schools and institutions today?
Again, a brilliant question. No, I think firstly, the first thing I'd say there is reputation. I'm very lucky in that I do get to visit a lot of countries where, whether I'm at a trade show, to move, etc. I do meet a lot of customers face to face from different countries, and it's always. I'm really not just saying this, but there's often a lot of love for Moodle. A lot of people do come up and mention that they've heard of Moodle in some capacity before, perhaps used it when they were younger. And so there's always a lot of love. So I think reputation is key. And, this is really backed up by the figures, 444 million odd users. You've seen earlier from my slideshow, one of the slides, kind of talking about market share. Obviously our market share is very strong and not just in APAC, in every continent in the world, perhaps less so in North America, a few different, but still incredibly strong across the board there. So definitely say reputation. Look, at obvious things cost as well. If we're open source, you can download Moodle, so anybody can kind of like make use of it. And I'd say, then I don't want to always sound like I'm just picking up partners, but genuinely we compare very favourably to our competition in terms of pricing. And I'm sure you as an example have probably come across that, and hopefully many others have as well. In addition, I would say, of course, flexibility. Flexibility is a massive plus point for Moodle. Notorious for integrating well with anything and everything, and flexibility of options of exactly what you want to build. That's hugely attractive to an audience, to any audience. Another big thing would be, obviously, here today, community, this movement itself, this is something that, other LMSs they necessarily have, they don't have that real community feel, those strong relationships, that's a real sense of belonging, partners' relationships with partners as well, I think that's a huge factor, so I think that really means a lot. And finally, I'd also say as well, I'd just bring up workplace too, and perhaps this ties in with my first point about people having heard of Moodle. in a younger life, so to speak, it builds an awful lot of trust, knowing, knowing the ethos of our product and knowing that kind of like, so, obviously there's a lot of, there's a lot of very good competition out there, there are a lot of other products out there, but you can kind of, you've got that real trust. So I like to think so, obviously the proof of that is in the customer, but that's certainly, these are certainly factors I experience, whether in Canada or across Asia or in Australasia.
Thank you very much for that great insight, Max. Yeah, I've seen your presentation a while ago that on the analytics, there's almost, or it's like 67% of the market share. Is the market share of Moodle. And another strong reason for Moodle to become, another strong reason for Moodle as part of the school's tools or platform implementation is that it's flexible, it has a big community, so everybody, if you ask somebody in the community, they will be able to provide great insights and responses, and as well as it's open source, it's fully customizable. So, all right. So now my question for Mr. Roy Plomantes. Roy, from your experience supporting schools and organizations in the Philippines, what are some common security vulnerabilities you've seen in Moodle implementations, and what can educators do to help prevent them?
For the vulnerability side, probably we should be we should definitely address every time that we saw in our notification that we need to upgrade or update our Moodle site. But with regards to the potential cyber attacks, we consistently design our infrastructure to be resilient and aligned with industry best practices. Now, in Nephila, security is not treated as one one-time task. It is part of our operational culture. So our goal is to ensure that each client Moodle's environment is placed in a strong and sustainable cybersecurity posture. While we maintain this defensive approach, probably we are not encountering so much on the cyber attack, but we encountering on how we utilize our tools as Moodle. No? So we also recognize that system reliability often becomes critical concern during period of peak activity. So what are these activities? Such as exam weeks and launch a large-scale training programs. So even though that you position your infrastructure into a better position in terms of resiliency, your platform will definitely still experience the slowness, and sometimes Moodle cannot be accessible anymore because of this peak usage. So this is not pertaining already about the attacks. This is pertaining on how we use our Moodle. So for me, when we talk about cybersecurity, this is not anymore a responsibility of the IT. This is not only the responsibility of the IT team or the Moodle provider like us. It is definitely a shared responsibility. So just a simple, to schedule your exam to lower, the loads will have a great help. Or probably advise us in advance that we have this exam by next week, so we can adjust also the capacity of your server, so that we can also address the optical availability of our server. So I think the most common that we encounter in Nephila is not the technical side, but rather how we utilize our Moodle, how we use our Moodle. Sometimes they thought that Moodle is like a Superman that you can use instantly with a big volume of activities. No, and that's not the case. So it should be a great collaboration between the users and us as technical to probably inform us in advance. No, that we will have an activity, probably a source involvement by this week. So we must be prepared so that we can also adjust the configuration of your servers so that we will not encounter this kind of
All right, that's very useful, Roy, and thank you for the helpful tips. And on a practical level, how can teachers and admins strengthen the protection of their Moodle sites? Well, aside from, of course, your tips on scheduling the usage of the Moodle site if they are going to have an exam, but what are your practical tips to help that can help teachers and admins strengthen the protection of their Moodle sites?
Well, teachers and student administrators play a major role, in keeping Moodle sites safe and secure. While much of the heavy lifting is in cybersecurity may fall on IT teams and the hosting provider like us, the daily actions and decisions made by educators and admins significantly affect the overall security postures of the learning platform. Now, cybersecurity is no longer a technical concern, it is a shared responsibility, as what I said a while ago. When educators understand this and take proactive steps, they help build a resilient digital learning environment. To start with, one of the most important things teachers and admins can do is to promote good password hygiene. So that's what we also discussed yesterday with the math and junior. So this means using strong unique password and change them regularly. Administrator can enforce this by setting policies in Moodle that requires users to create secure password and reset them periodically. So enabling two-factor authentication is a plus, no? Add more layer of protection, especially for accounts with administrative privilege. So less privileged approach would be better. Now, just imagine if you give an administrator access to a teacher and this teacher use this something reconfigure your server. It will just create havoc with it. So another critical aspect is managing user roles and permission wisely. Admin should ensure that users are granted access only to what they need and nothing more. It is common for roles to be assigned out of convenience, but this can open up vulnerabilities. For instance, giving the teachers unnecessary administrative right to deal changes or security breaches, reviewing and adjusting roles periodically help keep access tightly controlled. So let's not take for granted, no? As administrator, we always review. Sino bang bigyan ko ng administrator role? No? Who are these people that I give administrator role? Who are these people who are given a teacher role? So if you can give them a less privilege, that is the best practice to protect also your environment. No? So again, regular software updates are equally important. No, as a administrator, you can see, we cannot fire up an automatic update in your Moodle. We just inform you that there's an update version for that, and there's a security patches for that. You must definitely install the IT with collaboration with the IT that we need. We need to update, no, to patch some security issues. So the collaboration with the IT is definitely very, very important. Monitoring is another area where educator can contribute. So alam natin, we know that if there's a lags, don't take for granted the lags. Try to analyze those lags. If there is there are activities that is not usual, then try to report it immediately to the IDP. So these are the component that the teachers and the administrator can contribute in order for us to have an effective cybersecurity posture in our platform.
Thank you very much, Roy. Well, I have a random question. Anyone can answer. All right. So, what do you advise to those who have still, old versions of Moodle, they still use at their schools or institutions? Do you have any advice, anyone?
Upgrades.
Not. Okay, upgrade.
No, I think like every version of LMS is better. They're more secure, they're more performant, they meet teacher and educator needs better. You, not everyone needs to be on the latest version of LMS. Every version that we release has a period of support, that it's supported for both general bugs, and then when that finishes, security after that. And we do also release versions called long-term support versions, or LTS versions, of 4.5 was the last long-term support version, and then prior to that was 4.1. So if you can't upgrade to the latest version, and I do understand change management can be hard for organisations, especially large organisations. There is rate of change. Some organisations upgrade every time there's a new version of LMS is released, and that's great. If that's not possible for everybody, but as a bare minimum, you really want to make sure you're on at least a security supported version of Moodle. If you Google or punch into your favourite search engine Moodle releases, you'll get our release page that tells you basically what versions are in support, both for general support and security support, when that support expires, and when new versions are going to be released. And that can just help you sort of plan. So upgrade is a simple answer, but just at least make sure you're on a security supported version of LMS.
All right, so great insights from our experts. Can we give them a round of applause? So we still have 10-minute time. I'd like to open the floor to our audience for this Q&A forum. Anyone would like to ask our experts here? Anyone, or from our online audience? The floor is now open for the Q&A forum. Oh, there is one raising hand at the back. Please let us know who's the question for, and then from what company, and name and what company.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Luz from CSF, Nephila. What can be done so AI tools don't leave behind students with special needs?
I guess that's for me.
That's for you.
So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we, like any other features in Moodle, we keep accessibility in mind during our design and development processes, so that our AI features can be used by everyone, especially by people with disabilities. And yeah, our AI tools help benefit everyone basically. There will always be applications where it can benefit people with disabilities, especially those with cognitive disabilities. Like what Matt said earlier, our AI summary feature can help lighten the cognitive load for learners, especially those with learning disabilities, for example. So yeah, we're trying to we try our best to first make our AI features accessible and usable by everyone, and yeah, we support the responsible use of AI so that it will benefit everyone, especially people with disabilities.
Thank you, June. Any other questions from our audience? Yes, ma'am, from table number 14. Please, can you please give her the mic? All right. Please state your name and your organization.
Hello. Okay, hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lee. I come from CARE in the Philippines, our embassy. My microphone is being weird. Hello. Okay, I am very interested in AI discussions. I am surrounded by educators and IT people, so I know that this could be a divisive topic. For those who don't know what CARE is, we are a humanitarian and development organization, but I come from the Climate Justice Center, so we do lots of educating on climate related topics as well for our colleagues and our local partners across the globe. When it comes to AI, personally, I think that it's similar to any other tool, is not inherently bad. It's neutral. I also believe that necessity is the mother of invention. So whatever the development of AI, I'm sure come from good intentions. Having said that, because I also acknowledge that this is a tool that we often use, in one of our breakout sessions, one of our speakers had given a statistic how it makes teachers' job more efficient by 5 hours or something like that. Please don't quote me. So I also agree with stuff like that. But we're struggling currently with coming up with an AI policy within our organization outside of ethically using it, so not using it for plagiarism, et cetera, et cetera. And also because I work for the Climate Justice Center, our climate arm, I would also like to ask from Moodle's perspective, what does your AI policy look like? And does that include anything related to the supposed controversial effects of AI to the climate? Because just as education is, climate is also a cross-cutting issue that we should all be involved in. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll start, and I think probably some of my colleagues will have thoughts on that as well. And look, it's a really, really good question. For the sort of the first part about it, of what our own AI policy is, I don't have the link memorized. I'll see if I can share it on the socials. But on our Moodle.org site, if you sort of Google Moodle AI principles, you'll see our AI principles, and we spell them out publicly. And I do encourage everybody to read those. And they're what guide our approach to AI, both from how we use it internally and how we use it to develop our products. And it does touch on a lot of the things that I talked about around, like transparency and, making sure people are informed and things like that. So that'll do a much better job of explaining our own AI policy than I will by half paraphrasing. So I do encourage you to look that up. The second part of your question around basically AI uses environmental impact is a really, really sort of pertinent thing, and something we're definitely aware of. And we're aware of the impact on the environment of Moodle LMS, not just with AI, but how we do everything. And part of what we have in every release of LMS is functionality that you don't get to see on the top. It's not sort of like some of the things I talked about today, where you've got cool new sort of user-facing features. But we're also always working to improve the efficiency of LMS as a platform. And it's sort of multifaceted. Like, if we can make your LMS run on less servers, well, it makes your budget people happy because they have to pay less money. But the other part of it is, if we need to burn less electrons and then less coal to run your Moodle instance, that's better for the environment. And that actually aligns with the UN's sustainability goals as well. And we're actually quite aware of that. Like, there's obviously goal number 4 around accessible education, but there are other ones definitely around sustainability and resource usage. So we're absolutely aware of that. So we, as I say, that's something we approach from a platform level. With AI, it is, Sam's not here, but as he was sort of saying in his presentations in the breakout session, AI is very, very CPU and GPU, so computer processing intensive. Good thing is, and we see this across sort of technology as technology evolves, is it does become more efficient. So there is sort of a light at the end of the tunnel there. If you look at the power consumption of, the first computers in the 50s and 60s, they were more heaters than they were computers. And now if you look at the computing power on your average cell phone, it was more than, the first 10 or 15 years, I think, of computing power combined. So it will get better, but that doesn't mean we don't need to be aware of these things now. And, we can do what we can at LMS, but it's also just have a general awareness around it as you as the community. Certain AI providers actually will have statements around their environmental impact. Some like to say that they use more green energy to power their data centers than others. That's the same with your cloud computing providers as well. So these things should be factored into your decision-making processes as much as sort of financial costs is, I would say. But that's an excellent question. I feel like I've not even answered it but my answer is not as good as your question.
All right, so we hope that answered the question. We can entertain one more question. Anyone from the audience? Or how about our online
Table 2 here. Has a
table number? All right. Yes, Sir Roel. Have the mic.
Thank you. I'm relying quite a bit on coding to create the layout and the look for Moodle the way I want it and then optimize the learning. But I'm not a coder, so I use a lot of ChatGPT, and it's a bit of hit and miss, but ultimately I get it to work. One of the feedbacks I got from the AI was that there's somewhat of a limit with the CSS that you fill in. Is there a risk that I end up overdoing it and then have the system crash or malfunction?
So there's less of a risk of what you're doing, sort of overdoing it in the terms of putting this to the system. What we let educators sort of do by default in terms of adding sort of code, for lack of a better term, to their courseware is sort of reasonably restricted by default. Organisations can actually choose to make that more or less restrictive. We've sort of taken a reasonably safe middle ground. So depending on how your organisation as a whole is, sort of what they allow you to do, there will be some variance in that, so we have to be a little bit careful of that. Where we go, to be completely honest, where we see the biggest burden of, adding, custom CSS and styles and things, is just the maintenance burden of your learning material. So when it comes to, revamping your courseware, or, when your LMS gets upgraded and we change to something, it can actually sort of make your life harder for yourself. So I would just sort of keep that in the back of your mind. The other thing I will mention, which is much more of a usability thing than it is a sort of a security thing, and I've seen this pretty much in every university I've ever worked with. Don't use Comic Sans for your content. Just don't do that. Don't use content on it, and don't use the Comic Sans font. That might be a little bit of a personal opinion, but there's some good accessibility things you should probably be aware of more seriously as well when you're doing that, just to make sure that content is actually still able to be consumed by your students.
Thank you.
All right. So thank you very much to our incredible panelists for sharing your expertise and experiences. It's clear that smart learning and secure teaching go hand in hand, and that Moodle's global community is at the forefront of making this possible. So let us all continue to champion inclusive, secure, and innovative learning environments where technology enhances, not replaces, the human touch in education. So let's give our panelists a warm round of applause. Thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of the Moodle Philippines 2025 experience.
Thank you so much for special panelists and Professor Villarreal for the truly engaging panel discussion. Meanwhile, I also call on stage Ms. Jenny Alvarez, our Admin and Finance Officer of the Nephila Web Technology Incorporated, as well as Mr. Rendon Caballero, Nephila Web Technology Sales Manager, to award a certificate of recognition in behalf of MootPh25 2025 and Nephila Web Technology Incorporated to our truly wonderful, esteemed guest speakers and panelists for this afternoon. And I read the certificate of MootPh25 2025 presents this certificate of recognition, of course, for different panelists, in grateful recognition of their valuable contribution as panelists during the panel discussion titled Driving Corporate Learning and Development, the Role of LMS in Fostering Skill Growth and Organizational Success at Moodle Philippines 2025 held at the Laksem Hotel, Diliman, Quezon City on July 2 to 4, 2025, given this 4th day of July 2025 in Quezon City, Philippines. Signed, Cheryl R. Villarman, President and Chief Executive Officer, Nephila Web Technology. Thank you again, another round of applause for these wonderful gentlemen, all spearheading the navigation of course, our e-learning using Moodle. Thank you. You will be seeing more of them at MootPh Philippines 2025. Thank you. Okay, now, it has truly been a long day for all of us here at MootPh Philippines 2025. But wait, it doesn't